Hello, my name is Omar Rabasad. It's 5:02 p.m., September 22nd, 2020. So, as I have been doing for the last few days, I am going to give you a sample of today's torture uh, in the building in which I live. So, I just took my blood pressure and I got an irregular heartbeat. I've been getting pulsed all night, all day. Last night was really bad. The power was turned up. And we had a few days peace. The weekend, the contract is not on the ground. So this morning they showed up. And as usual, they were shouting at 8 o'clock, around 8 o'clock. And the usual, um, the usual harassment. So I am going to take a educated guess and say that they're subcontractors. So I'm just curious to see what the blood pressure is. Again, since I did get an irregular heartbeat. So the chest is being tagged, and the comment outside is she's going to be dead in a matter of days. So this is the chest tagged. So 121 over 76. So chest. So yesterday I talked about sneezing and my sinuses acting up. Well, I think I named some of the things that I used yesterday. So curry, turmeric, black pepper, garlic, raw garlic, pounded garlic. And there are certain things in the curry powder itself, certain other herbs in the curry powder. There's a few more things that I am going to show you. And you notice that I'm perfectly fine today. And I'll show you, I don't have a temperature. $36.6. So I don't have a temperature. Internal temperature. $37.2, the air. 37.8 is a fever. $36.5 on the forehead. 36.6 on the air, instant. That's 0.8 degrees difference in seconds. 37.3. 37.2. 37. Do not have a fever. So some other things that I did, see? Zinc also is antiviral. Just do the research. I'm not going to go into the details about how exactly it works. It works. It just works. Vitamin C, vitamin D. So I've been taking, this is 1,000 UI. My doctor told me to take about 3,000 to 4,000. So I got my blood work, and it's a little bit lower than it should be, than normal. So my doctor a little while ago actually told me to increase my dosage. So, and COVID-19, a few more extra tablets will not hurt. From what I read, and do your own research again, talk to your doctor. I don't think there is any bad side effects for taking, 10,000 UIs a day, especially if you're trying to protect against COVID. So I'm perfectly fine. No sinuses, haven't sneezed in 24 hours. So when I went out yesterday, well, when I was in, I sneezed a couple times, but only when my face was being pulsed relentlessly. My nose and my ears and my eyes were being pulsed. So when I went out, my face was tagged, my head was tagged, completely tagged. And also a few people passed really, really, really close to me. So I'm not sure if I picked up something from these people or it was something in the air. It could very well be what's in the air right now because it's fall and everything on the trees are coming down. So but by the time I got home, I was sneezing a little bit more than I wanted to. So I loaded up and everything I just said. And absolutely no symptoms. Not a sneeze, no runny nose, no runny eyes, no nothing. Absolutely nothing. So these things work. Vitamin D works, zinc works, turmeric. I didn't use ginger, but ginger definitely. Ginger in your milk, ginger in your tea, or just pure ginger tea. I use fresh ginger. And if you don't, you can also use organic ginger powder in your food. It works. It absolutely works. I also use one more thing that if I'm really, like yesterday, I wasn't really, I knew that it was not an infection. It was more of an allergic reaction to something. And by the way, signals is an allergen. Microwave signals is, you can, when you're sneezing, when you're pulsed with these signals, you're having an allergic reaction because your body is reacting as if you're allergic to something. So I knew it wasn't any sort of a viral or bacterial infection. I just knew. But even so, you can still get inflamed. The lining of your nose, the lining of your throat can still get really irritated and inflamed. And that could lead to the viral and bacterial infection. So one more thing that I used, and I don't use this very often, only when I think it's an emergency. It's called betadine, and it's iodine spray. Now iodine is only supposed to be taken, it's for sore throat. It's only supposed to be taken infrequently. So it's not for daily use. And that too worked. So for COVID-19, the virus is supposed to be living in your, well, from the swabs I see that they're taking, it goes really deep into your nostrils. So the back of the throat, really. And through your nostrils and in the throat. So if you spray these areas and you wash it out, the chances are, if you don't kill off all the virus that's there and bacteria, the bad ones, you're going to kill most of it off. And infections is not actually about having the virus and the bacteria in your system. It's about the load, the viral load. It's about how much bacteria and how much virus you, or viri, plural, is in your system. That counts as an infection. Again, do your own research. That's from my research. So I'm living proof that these alternative means of treatment, therapy, works, absolutely works. Again, I don't have a fever, and I'll prove that to you again. $36.8. And that it went up in minutes because I am being pulsed. $36.7, that's the air. $37.2. Just got another pulse on the chest. And I'll show you the actual readings here. Again, no magnets. So I was also getting irregular heartbeats this morning when the power was turned up and they was shouting outside the window. See that big number there? That was a pulse. Goes all the way down to 0. There's a big number. And both the RF number and the EF number, these two here, they're changing. There. So the RF penetrates the body, which is why my chest is cramping up, my back is cramping up. It's not as bad as yesterday. It's not continuous. The power is turned down right now, but it is and when I say continuous, it's not continuously high, I should say. So there's been a change to lower the range of the algorithm and the frequency. See, there's a big number there. Pulse. So what's that, once every minute? So I'm going to take my blood pressure one more time. Just got a pulse on my thighs, and there it is right there, on the arm. And there it is right there. And my back is pulsed. So I air it out because there was movement. My arm was moving. So I'll do that one more time. And there's another remedy, alternative therapy, I should say, that I read on Dr. Mercola's website. Gargling with hydrogen peroxide, and I imagine you got to dilute it. Do your own research. Go on his website, take a look, read. Also helps. If you wash your nostrils out, and you can get an atomizer and spray the diluted hydrogen peroxide into your nostrils and wash it out. Castor oil is also antiviral and antibacterial. In wintertime, when your nostrils get really dry and irritated, castor oil. I use castor oil, which works for me. I mean, there are so many natural therapies that prevents you from getting infected and sick in the first place, decreasing the viral load. It's, in my opinion, and I'm sure the powers that be out there that's making the decisions about the lockdowns and so on doesn't agree with me. But in my opinion, the idea is to decrease the viral load. It's not about getting infected itself. I mean, we carry around, God knows. I mean, we probably carry around viruses and bacteria that we don't even know about yet. That's not been identified by human beings. We don't know what we carry around because we've never been tested for it. I'm sure you'd agree with that. Doctors would agree with that, right? So the fact that you are carrying around a virus in itself, it is not necessarily a dangerous thing. It's the point at which you become a spreader, infectious. Like the cold, you're only infectious for a few days, and then you're not. Well, the coronavirus is a cold virus. So I'm going to take an educated guess and say the same rule applies. You're only infectious for a few days, and then you're not. So if you're asymptomatic, then you're not infectious. Therefore, just like we do for the cold, we stay home when we're infectious and when we're sick. And then when we're healed, we carry on our lives. Why the lockdown? And why is it that doctors that work for the government are not talking about alternative therapies that will decrease the viral load? We cannot avoid getting infected. If it's transmitted by air, there is no way that we will avoid getting infected unless we muzzle ourselves with layers and layers and layers of masks that will prevent us from breathing in this virus. And we don't know how exactly how small they are, what material they can pass through. Can it pass through cotton? Can it pass through silk? Can it pass through the material that the masks that the medical people wear? I'm assuming not. What about the different types of cloths that people are using? Does it pass through that? Can we really, really protect ourselves from becoming infected? My answer is no. So really, on what grounds did the World Health Organization determine that there is a pandemic? People were dropping dead. Well, if they were dropping dead like from SARS, then why is it that the flags didn't go up before it was transmitted around the world? Because SARS was a trial run, it was practice. So why is it that even though we had information, the red flags didn't go up and people weren't told to wear masks, but actually we were told the opposite? Like, why was it allowed to spread to the point where the World Health Organization decided that we were in a pandemic? There was a failure somewhere, right? And I was reading somewhere that in Scarborough here, this is the northeast Toronto, that the Chinese community was trying to raise a red flag through the school system. There were parents who were sending the kids to school and were telling the teachers in the schools that there is a SARS-like infection going around in their community, and nobody paid any heed. So this information was in the Chinese community, and they were concerned, and they were trying to raise the red flag here in Canada. But why did it end up in Canada in the first place? Who brought it here? And my concern is, in the Wuhan province, 5G and COVID came along at the same time. So from my experience here with the use of directed energy weapons, and I just demonstrated between yesterday and today, that I was hit yesterday, and it's very possible that I breathed something, but keep in mind that the sneezing started inside, not outside. It got worse outside. It started inside because nothing changed inside of my home, other than the power of the microwaves and where I was being hit, my face and my nose, my eyes and my ears. So I started sneezing and getting congested. So I've demonstrated that directed energy weapons can cause symptoms of the flu without you actually being infected with the flu virus. So if you had a virus to start with, some sort of a variation of the SARS or whatever it is, then directed energy weapons could be used to make the symptoms worse, far worse, and will kill you very, very quickly. I just demonstrated irregular heartbeat when the power goes up or the power is aimed at my chest. It will give you heart attacks. It will clot your blood. It will give you rashes on your body, like burn marks. I showed you some of them. I have rashes on my breast because the power was turned up on the breast. And these are all, interestingly, also symptoms of COVID-19. Bruised toes. Well, last night my toes were bombarded. And when I put my shoes on, the tips of my toes were sore. As soon as I took it out and I shielded, there was no soreness, it was gone. No inflammation either. But if I didn't shield, it would get inflamed and it would get red and it would get irritated, just like the pictures you see. In my opinion, the two go hand in hand. There is a virus, but the virus is not as deadly as it sounds or it's made out to be. The symptoms of the virus is being exacerbated and exaggerated and made more pronounced by the use of directed energy weapons, 5G being one of them, my opinion. And just like it's an experiment in the building, it's a global experiment by the New World Order, which is satanic. Just like communism is satanic because it treats human beings worse than animals. And there's no religion. Women are treated really badly. No human rights. This is satanic. The New World Order is worse than that. It's a variation of communism. It's worse than communism. It's a technocracy. All left brain thinking, all machine thinking. Therefore, the suppression of women is necessary. This is a New World Order. Okay, so I'm going to take my pressure one more time. So I would suggest to people who are concerned about taking vaccines and don't want their kids to be vaccinated, that they delve into the use of alternative therapy. There are some good websites, Dr. Mercola being one, that talks about alternatives. And I suspect that for something like the coronavirus, you don't need a vaccine. You really don't need a vaccine because the rate of kill, let's just say, is just a little bit more than the flu. And just like the flu, it kills off the old and the vulnerable in exactly the same way. So the old and the vulnerable people are dying from COVID. The flu does exactly the same thing. But we didn't lock ourselves away for the flu. We didn't isolate our old people. We didn't stop visiting them. What we need to do is to shield them properly, take all necessary precautions to shield them, keep them clean, keep them safe, take care of them if they can't take care of themselves. Old vulnerable people are supposed to take all the precautions they think that they have to. Most of them are not working, they're retired. So they can take these precautions, they can stay home. They don't have to be out and about as much as the young people. Take all those precautions, but let the others lead their lives. Open up the economy. There is no need to lock it down. None whatsoever. Hundreds of millions of people are dying because of the lockdown itself, while 10,000 out of 150 dies from COVID, and out of that, 60% or 70% are very old and very vulnerable people. And yet we are locking down the world and killing off hundreds of millions of people, young people with their lives in front of them, killing those off because a few very vulnerable, very sick, very old people who's lived their lives already and who would die naturally around the same time because these people are dying, which any other disease would kill off anyways. And I'm 60, so I'm putting myself in that category. I'm not vulnerable because I don't have any underlying conditions. other than my heart issue, which I'm suspecting is stress, mostly stress. And even if there is one, I'm okay. I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to say anymore because there is a lot of question marks in my case because I'm a target. So I'm told one thing, then I'm told something else. I'm told one thing, and so I have an opinion about what's going on with me. So, but I'm not going to go into that into too much details about that. But because I sound wishy-washy, but that's only because I'm told one thing and then the other. So anyway, so let's leave that aside for now. My point is, I'm 60 years old. People are dying naturally around 80 average, right? So I have 20 more years to live. So on being 60, then I'm in a really good health condition. I take care of myself. But a normal 60-year-old is not in such good health. A normal 60-year-old. So they have 20 more years left in front of them, average. Okay. And a 25-year-old person have their whole lives ahead of them. Why lock them down? See, I'm 60. I don't mind to a certain extent being indoors because I did a lot of things in my life and I wasn't locked down. I traveled. I had a good career that was cut short unnaturally. I did a lot of things. I lived, in other words. But why cut a 25-year-old life short by locking the person down, wearing masks, not being able to have contact sports, not being able to go to a concert, not being able to go to the museum, not being able to travel. When you travel, you have to be home for 2 weeks. So it's a deterrent from traveling. Not being able to hang out with your friends, not being able to play football, not being able to play, any sports that has a high rate of contact, that builds character and strengthen bonds and help you grow in all sorts of ways. Does not make sense. In other words, we are being treated like machines, or we are being turned into machines and treated like animals, I should say, worse than machines. We are being turned into machines, but not human machines, animal machines, which is a step down, right, from just being robots. Something is very, very, very wrong with what's going on. And people should take stock. Just take the time to think about what you're being told and the rules and the laws that's being passed. Take the time to think about it and decide whether you want to do or say something about it publicly. So 120/75. Talk to you another time.